We're back!
Hey! I love this.
That's all we have.
That's it. Have a good one.
Have a good Saturday. So, I don't know if we should wait for people to hop on.
We'll give a few seconds for hop-ons. It's asking me about tagging, because I'm like, I never tag you ahead of time.
I tagged you ahead of time this time.
Alright, I'm gonna lower this a little bit.
Shannon's on.
Hi, Shannon. Hi, Gloria. Hi, Tiffany.
People are hopping on and filtering in.
Hello, guys.
So it took us longer than 5 minutes because coffee happens.
Yeah. And we may or may not be able to read right away what you guys are writing, and we're gonna have to lean in. So be patient with us, and we
Which
will.
is life, leaning into life.
Leaning into life. that is how it works. Today we've got a really, really important subject matter.
Important subject matter and an announcement, but you have to wait till the end for us to.
We're gonna make an announcement at the end of this, which you definitely want to be on for. Mm-hmm. So you start this. I feel like
my dad's on.
Hey, Dad! What's up?
From Italy, all the way from Italy.
I feel very important because you're on from Italy.
You're important, Susan.
Quit feeling so important, Susan.
It's not about you,
It's
Susan.
not about you, Susan.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be a good one.
So I want to kind of introduce this one because I reached out to Shakti a couple weeks ago, right before I knew that not right before, but I knew what I was coming here, and I said, I've been really labeling and aware of my own dark night of the soul, and Shakti is actually someone who really helped me through mine. It wasn't labeled that. I didn't know that it was called the dark night. I knew of the dark night, but I didn't know that that's what I was going through. But Shakti is someone who's been extremely beneficial to my own personal growth, and so when I really was able to label it and realize, I was like, man, that's what I do. Like I had to really go through my own dark night so that I could help others through theirs. And when I work with clients, whether it's one-on-one or in my club membership, it's very obvious to me that the women who I work with are either right about to step into their dark night or are in their dark night. And it's such a raw journey. Yep. It's such a raw experience. Yep. And I wanted to talk about this subject, but I wanted to talk about it with someone who also understands it on the exact same level. Yeah. And Shakti's someone who has gone through multiple dark nights. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, we were originally going to do this on my podcast, on your vibe, and then we decided to do it live since we're here. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is really what the dark night is, how do you know, how do you get through it, because there's this balance of it feeling extremely lonely, which it has to be lonely. It's your own journey, and you're the only one who ever truly understands it. But then how do you find that balance between the aloneness and the loneliness of it, and then how do you know when to reach out and get that support? Because you need both. You can't do it alone.
That's true. It's very difficult. So the definition of dark night, if you're watching this and you're like, what are you talking about? What is a dark night of the soul? You probably have lived through it and you have no idea that it was called a thing.
Or you're like, I'm in this right now.
I'm doing it. I'm living in the moment. So dark night of the soul is a term, a concept that has been generated. We didn't generate it. It has been generated around a soul's journey when they are coming into contrast with something huge in their life. They're bumping up against some sort of resistance, something in their life that is not fulfilling them. It's creating painful emotion for them. It could be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be the next step in their spiritual evolution. It could be parenting. It could be addiction. It could be any season of your life where you are coming in contact with something that's really challenging and is really distressing to you. It makes you very, very uncomfortable. And the dark night of the soul journey is going into that experience and really healing it from the inside out, and then coming out the other end of that with some sort of new awareness and understanding that you didn't have prior to the experience. And these moments in life, because it's not just like one, there are many. These moments in life, I firmly believe, and I think we share this understanding, it's what makes us. It's what makes us who we are. It's what shapes us into the people that we can then go out into the world and be. And if we don't honor those experiences and those moments, it leaves us really repressed and really bitter. And there's a lot of people I come in contact with much older, later in life, when they have so much, my grandmother's a perfect example of this, so much regret and resentment because they didn't get to like evolve past their dark night of the soul. And so our goal together on these videos is to talk about this with like bright honesty and authenticity so that you guys understand that it's not something you're just living through. It's a very common experience and it has a way through. It has a through. You're not stuck.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a couple things too that I thought of when Shakti was talking was that, so she gave the definition, but when I really had like the aha moment of like, oh my God, that's what I've been going through the last year and a half. How cool. Kind of. I was watching Michael Bernard Beckwith with Oprah, and the definition that he gave, which it was so easy to understand, was it's when you are experiencing the moment of you know that you're no longer who you were, but you haven't quite evolved into who you want to be, and so there's this limbo. Right?
Where you're tension.
It is
experience of tension.
And that's why it feels so lonely because you can't really relate to your old life, right? But you haven't fully evolved into your new life. And so you're just like, what the fuck am I doing?
What is this?
And where do I go? I guess I'll just, I tell people, like we say, sit your ass on a pillow.
Sit it down.
Sit your ass on a pillow and just meditate your way through it because
sit it down.
Like that's
the first component of all of this. So we did a video yesterday.
That was the second thing I was going to say.
We were going to reference our yesterday video.
That's what I was going to say.
The willingness.
Because you were talking about the people who don't ever go into their dark night, and it goes back to the willingness of being uncomfortable.
That's step one, y'all. If you're taking notes, this might be like a giant ramble, but at least there'll be some steps, and this is one we're going to illuminate. And number one, if you are about to go through this dark night on some season of your life, or you're in it, number one is you've got to be willing to experience the dark night of the soul. What you resist, persist. 10,000, we curse. Fucking percent. Okay, so I'm warning you right now, there's going to be a lot of that.
If you have children, headphones.
Yeah, headphones, because it's authenticity on our behalf. So it is 1,000 fucking percent that. I mean, you've got to be willing to get into the dark night and understand why you're feeling this, why you're living this, why this is happening. Where is it coming from? Where do you feel it in your body? I mean, all of the kind of stuff that we talk about as healers and mentors, like, you have to be willing to explore the dark night. I feel like if you can't even be receptive to doing that, it's like gonna take forever.
It does. So
it does.
Well, yeah, because I like I said, I feel like I'm light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like on my way out. I haven't fully, and I'm like honest about the fact that I'm not fully out. But I'm out enough that I'm like, oh God, thank God, I see the light, and I now have gratitude, an immense appreciation for the contrast I've experienced in the past year and a half. But I don't remember what I was saying. So go on. Oh, willing. Oh, but there was something else.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I wasn't in your brain when you were actively having that thought.
You're fucking psychic.
I know, but you have to. It's like a switch. You gotta turn it on. You can't just be on all the time. I'd fry. That's not how this thing works.
Way too much input.
Yeah, that's crazy. There's enough of my own thoughts in there,
I don't know, something about a year and a half and willingness to be uncomfortable, and I don't know, it'll come back to me.
I was saying before you started talking that it takes a long time if you're not willing. It takes forever.
Oh yeah, that's where it came from.
Yeah. It takes a really long time, and there's not like a timeline. It's not like you gotta be like, okay, I got 3 months to make this happen. We better get through this dark night. Like. You never know how long it's going to take. And for me, I'll share, to give you an example.
And it will continue to unfold as well.
Right. So I had my son 2 years ago. He's now a 2-year-old. And that was my most recent dark night of the soul was having my son. And it has been a very persistent dark night of the soul for a lot of reasons. It's been the depression and the anxiety that followed his birth was really difficult for me to accept. I think I had a lot of resistance around accepting that I felt the way that I felt. I had a lot of guilt around feeling depressed and anxious, even though I had this beautiful baby that I brought into the world with a partner I love tremendously. I felt like a shitty mother. Breastfeeding was hard, so I felt like a terrible person because I couldn't breastfeed naturally. And so I did resist this for a while, and it took a lot of joy out of my early motherhood because I couldn't accept that this was just going to be tough, that this was part of my journey, was this shit was going to be hard. And I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to accept it. I wanted to be in that commercial of a mother and her young baby laughing and looking into each other's eyes. And that was not what I was experiencing. I was having a complete opposite experience. And it wasn't until I allowed myself to go into it. And to be honest, this started when I started fitness coaching and when I started working out. When I started to do something for me that was just for me, it like almost gave me permission to process my feelings. So I can't tell you how many times I cried during those surrenders. When I did 21 Day Fix for the first time, I wanted to die inside and kill everything around me at the same time.
That rage that we experienced during fitness. This morning I was like, I feel fucking rage right now.
And it's like, I remember crying, holding weights, doing surrenders in my living room, like bawling, literally, because I was processing my own separation, my own unwillingness to be in the moment. But it's almost like fitness gave me the avenue. It gave me the road to be like, you can be with these feelings. It's okay that this is hard.
Fitness teaches you that.
Yeah, it's
Fitness
true.
teaches you how to fucking be uncomfortable.
That's true. I think that's why I love it so much, because it's like it shows you how to go through something that's hard and make it out the other end. And this is what I needed during my parenting dark night. And honestly, like Anne, I'm at the place where I can see the end of the light of the tunnel. Like I'm finally feeling like harmony with my son and being his parent and being the kind of parent I aspire to be. But I'm still traveling it, and it's been 2 years, you know, and there's still moments of spiked anxiety and emotion, like last night, which I worked through and had a mental freaking breakdown crying over my son, you know, and it's a process, you know, but you've got to go through it. I feel like I wouldn't be the kind of conscious parent I now am if I hadn't gone into it and been like, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Like, what is this about? Like, why am I struggling to accept this reality? That was huge.
Well, and I think... you know, we talked about the definition of the dark night, but it's also a matter of, because like my dark night was different. It was really kicked off by, it started when I was in a relationship, and then it kind of started there, and then when the relationship ended, it was like, okay, now I'm really going through the shit. Now it's really, and it was the first breakup that I had experienced where I was really, really, really willing to look at my own shit. Mm-hmm. To really be like, okay, of course there are two people in the relationship, and so we each have our own shit, but I no longer want to, I know my patterns, and I no longer want to take these patterns into my next relationship. Mm-hmm. And I know that, so this is the thing, right? Like, until you're willing to really face your patterns and work through it, you will take the pattern from thing after thing after thing after thing. And I made that choice that no more was I going to take these patterns from one relationship to the next, because I knew that if I took those patterns into the next relationship, the relationship was going to end, and I was tired of experiencing that kind of pain at the end of relationships. But what I experienced at the very beginning was, you know, you talk about the physical discomfort. It was excruciating. Mm-hmm. It was physically and emotionally and spiritually excruciating, because it felt like I was cracking out of my body. Mm-hmm. Like, it was physically painful, and the reason, it was like ego was so fucking loud. Yes. It was just like, I wanted to drown that bitch. Yes. I was like, shut the fuck up. Get down there. I was like, you have been sabotaging my entire life. And it actually was, again, like around the ending of the relationship, I reached out to Shakti sobbing, and she was like, you need to look ego in the face. Mm-hmm. I will remember this. You need to look ego in the face and say, no more. No more. You have been ruling my life. Yep. You have been ruining my life. My entire fucking life. No more. It ends now. And in that moment, not that like it was like, okay, easy peasy and I'm done, but I made that choice. It ends now. It ends now, and the work began. The real healing work began. Yes. And the physical discomfort came from me not living my life authentically. And this is what happens when you are not living your life authentically. Your soul has a purpose. Yeah. Your soul has a purpose. It has a mission. Your soul knows why it's here. Yes. And if you allow ego to run your life for your entire life. You're going to have, we talk about disconnection, you're going to have this huge disconnection, and it is going to be physically painful. And then again, like we talked about yesterday in the video, your outer world is going to continue to fall apart until you have no choice but to face it.
Yes.
You have no choice, but you will be knocked on your fucking knees with no, like, now what, bitch?
What up? You know, and let me do a little clarification on the ego right now, because I feel like ego gets a lot of shit, and it needs its proper place. So I'm going to address her as a her. So she has a role in your development as a being on this planet. Your ego is very effective for navigating this now moving into 5D dimension. Being in reality incarnate, the ego has a very specific purpose. But the ego is supposed to be like that passenger in the car, helping you navigate material reality. It is not the driver, and it is not the person who's envisioning your life. And so what ends up happening, and here's why, because ego works on timeline. Ego has an understanding of time in a very linear fashion. It knows what happened in the past. It's like a record keeper. It remembers what happened in your past and how you got hurt or how you got injured. And every time you go to do something new that it is like unfamiliar with, it just brings back that past memory like, hey, remember when this happened? Hey, remember when that happened? Hey, remember when this? So it's like a record keeper. And unfortunately, we've confused our ego for being like the creator of our life. And so when the record keeper's throwing at you all these things that you need to be fucking careful of, you're not going to want to do anything new or go through your dark night because you're afraid. You're living in that place of fear. Your soul is very inventive. It's very creative, and it's adventurous by design. Your soul is craving the exploration of itself. That's why you came here in a body, so you could explore who you are. So it is very adventurous, and it is wanting to expand and go into the places where you haven't been yet and really know yourself. That's what it desires to do. So of course, what your soul is driving you to do is going to scare the shit out of your ego, because your ego is not designed to do that job. So what needs to happen here is this awareness of the separate roles and how they both help you in your experience of reality. One is not meant to be better or worse. They're just different. They have completely different roles. And when you have them in their proper place, your life is alignment. You know, your life is rocking because your ego can help you stay connected to material reality, and your soul propels you forward. You know, like this is the relationship.
Well, your ego is also your inner child. So your ego shows you where your wounds are.
Right. No.
So when ego pops up with fear, again, like going back to, it's remembering the past, and a lot of times it's remembering things that weren't healed in your childhood.
Yes.
So when the fear comes up, it's not a matter, I hear from a lot of people that they just want to like shove it aside.
No.
It's the worst thing you can do. Imagine ignoring a toddler.
Yeah,
That's not going to work.
It doesn't work.
It's going to like tear apart your home. Right? You'll be like, that didn't work so well.
Nope.
You can't ignore the toddler,
No,
right? And
no.
you can't silence the toddler either.
And you can't pretend it's not there.
Right.
You can't pretend it's not there. The toddler is in the room. You have to notice it.
But when the toddler is having a tantrum, as all toddlers do, there's a balance between setting firm boundaries and being loving.
Yes.
That's it. That's the entire balance, is setting firm boundaries of, you do not rule my life, right? You are not in charge. You are not in the driver's seat. But I hear your fears, right? Being heard, being seen, being understood is huge. So hearing the ego, hearing that toddler, and then loving it and embracing it, that heals so much.
It's miraculous. That is, what you just said is miraculous.
I know.
It's a miracle. That's what it is, because that's what we've done without really knowing we were doing the thing. You know what I thought of the most? As you were talking, I remembered when I got divorced and I moved into this like really tiny shack of a house that probably should have been like banished. Like, no one should have lived in this house, probably. Asbestos everywhere. I imagine looking at this house. And I was in such a dark place. I was deep in that dark night of the soul. I had become separated from my community of friends. I really didn't have anything outside of a job that I was like going to every single day. And I would come home and like drink an entire bottle of wine by myself every single night.
Been there.
I did it for months. And what was happening, and I bring up this example because I want you guys to understand that it's not about being perfect through this process all the time. Like, I knew what I was doing. I knew that I was trying to drown out that pain and that discomfort and that, like, wanting to be out of my skin. The disappointment of having your entire life fall apart and all of your vision that you had for your life with someone, and feeling like a horrible person because you made that decision. I did make that decision, and feeling badly about being the activator in that separation. And so there was a lot that I was holding on to that I didn't want to look at, and so I turned there. But I knew what I was doing when I was doing it, and I was like, this is not going to be forever. I need to, like, go there and be dark and just feel it and burn shit and drink, and then I'm going to do something about this. This is what I said to myself. Wait, someone wrote a long comment.
Amy.
You ladies rock. I've been in the dark night for the past 2 years. Been busting through my patterns with codependency and people pleasing and having poor self-image. Now I'm making choices that feel good. I'm choosing myself over everything, and it helps so much with the mindset. Me plus other great guidance, books, podcasts that are in my life. Most importantly, connection with myself. It's been so intense, but so much growth and evolvement.
Yeah, Amy has rocked her
Yes,
journey.
girl.
Mm-hmm.
Testimony time.
Amy has rocked her journey. Yep.
Testimony time. and I wanted to give you that example because there are phases to, like, your dark night. There are going to be times when you're going to do that. You're just going to, like, black out drink or, like, party, make terrible decisions, wake up with awful people. Like, that is part of this journey.
Who are
you? Where am I? Like, this, oh, bad. But don't hate on those parts of your journey because sometimes you just need to go there and
non-judgment.
Yeah, get that shit out of your system and move forward from there, you know. And that's how I've usually gone through my dark nights. I go into really heavy, like with my son, it was eating a lot of sugar. Mm-hmm. I went straight into, like, sugar binging, and for, like, months. And then I was like, okay, girl, wrap it up. Wrap it up, because I got shit to do. You know, like, let's get out of this and move on. And it served me to honor every part of the process and not try to skip to, like, enlightenment. I don't feel this anymore.
Well, this is exactly why I had said in the video yesterday, this is why I tell my clients, it's not my job to prevent you from hitting your rock bottom. Yep. Like, when you start to enter into the dark night, yeah, you spiral out of control and you hit rock bottom. That's, I mean, I had the exact same experience at the beginning of my last breakup. I was, again, going back to my favorite diet of not eating and drinking a bottle of wine every night and exercising on top of it. It's amazing. Amazing, not. But I had to get there because it was like I wanted and needed to numb out.
Yes.
It was so painful, and I knew what I was doing. Yeah. I had the awareness of what I was doing, and I knew that it wasn't going to last forever. Yeah. And I was honest with myself without the judgment, right? So we talked about non-judgment. Like, I'm making the choice to do this. Yeah. But then through that, I was then also able to work through my emotional drinking, you know, and now I'm not an emotional drinker anymore, which is amazing. You know, I have the awareness, but the non-judgment and allowing yourself to go into it, you know.
Going through it, it's kind of like being a new parent and realizing the first 3 months of being a new parent are going to be horrible. Like, they're going to be hard because you're adjusting. If you're going from 0 to 1 kid, that adjustment period takes a lot of time. You have to learn a new person and include another person in your family, and your body hurts in ways you never thought possible, and your boobs are gigantic and everything hurts, you know, and it's weird. You're going through a weird transition, and so it's probably not going to feel very good, you know, and that's fine. Again, we said it yesterday, like, don't be afraid of feeling like shit. Don't be afraid of feeling like shit. Feeling like shit is good for you. Like, it is. Like, going into that feeling like, this sucks.
Because without that, it goes back to the contrast. If you felt amazing all the time, you would have no appreciation for feeling amazing. Yes. But when you feel like shit and then you feel amazing, you're like, this is amazing. Yes. Like, I don't feel like shit anymore.
And let me say, from a biological and neuroscientific perspective, okay, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've studied a lot of it because I really wanted to understand my brain and anxiety and depression. The emotions, especially things like, let's say, depression and joy, okay, they run on like a two-way street. It's like the same track. So when people are like, I just want to numb out the depression and I only want to feel joy, like, you cannot actually do that.
Brene Brown talks about that.
Yeah, Brene Brown does talk about that. It doesn't work that way in your brain. Like, you literally have to be willing to feel both in order for both to stay flowing. And if you're not, you by default stop the other. Which is why a lot of times with, like, depressive medication, like Sometimes you need medication. I'm not going to say that's not the truth, but a lot of times people will get on medication and say, now I feel nothing. That's a very common thing for people to say.
Wow.
And the reason is that it's stopping that highway, that track of both emotions at the same time, because it's trying to help you balance one, but it's going to affect the other at the same time because they're not separate. I think that's really helpful to understand.
You can't selectively numb.
Yeah,
So when you try to avoid the less than enjoyable feelings, you like Shakti said, you also numb out the rest. This is why people also emotionally eat or emotionally drink, no matter what emotion they're feeling, because they're so used to just numbing emotion.
Absolutely.
It's like you have this was like the thermostat, right? So
Yes.
you feel let's say 7. Although for me, it's 68 degrees is my 68 degrees is my perfect.
68 degrees.
So if you're like me, you're at 68 degrees, right? And if you start to feel a little bit warmer, then you're like, oh no, bitch, I gotta go back to 68 degrees. And if you cold, right? So you go back and forth with sadness or happiness either way, so you just stay at this comfortable 68 degrees. Because I think also then with the happiness, some people, like we talked about yesterday with the similarity between anxiety and excitement.
Yes.
It's like if they get too excited, then it easily transitions into
Panic.
anxiety and panic. They don't know how to feel, right?
Yeah.
People are so used to just feeling 68 degrees
Feeling
that
68 degrees.
either way they equate as not good.
You know that's like a new boy band, 68 degrees.
It's the female band. We took 98 degrees.
I brought it down a bit, because that shit is super hot.
Let's cool this shit down a bit. Why do you think I had you open the window?
I know.
68 degrees.
68 degrees. That's where we're at. That's incredibly true, though. That's incredibly true. Everything you just said is right on. I had a thought pattern, too, about going into the feeling component. Oh, this was a thought pattern. So if you look at people on social media, and social media is a really interesting experiment to do this with, because you're watching people all day long do the things, right? So you watch people and you're like, that person has an amazing life. It looks like they have an amazing life, and they genuinely do. They genuinely have a really positive, happy, uplifting. Even when they're struggling, they keep it optimistic. They seem to always have like the right words to say or the right perspective or whatever. And you admire those people. And I want you to understand the reason you admire those people and the reason you follow them, if you follow us, that would be why, is because they are willing to do that difficult shit.
Yep.
It's not because we are magically born like untouched by tragedy. Like we didn't ever experience the things that a lot of people experience, and sometimes worse than some people experience.
Because we jump into that shit.
Because we jump into that shit.
Dive in.
It's because we go into it. It's because we're not afraid of feeling uncomfortable, and we understand the value. It's a lot like when you're trading and you're doing like stocks. You can't make a lot of money if you don't risk. Right? It doesn't happen. In the stock market, if you make a risky gamble, you could lose it all, but you could win it all. And they tell you that all the time when you're learning about stocks. And the same is true about life. Like, you've got to be willing to risk in order to get the return that you want. And that's where the ego's going to panic. Because the ego's going to be like, wait. Don't do it. That's risky. And your soul's
You're
going to
die.
Right. Death, right? Your ego
Always
immediately
goes to
to death. This is going to lead to death somehow. Someone will die. If not you, someone. Don't do this. Don't do it. But your soul is not, that's not the language of the soul. Your soul's like, this is so exciting.
So fun.
What could happen?
Somersaults. It feels like
Yeah.
it feels like your soul is doing
Yeah.
somersaults
Yeah.
inside of you when you're on the right path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it feels like vibrating.
Mhm.
I can't really describe
Which again,
that.
if people aren't used to that, they could think,
I'm
oh, this is
panicking.
anxiety. I'm feeling fucking
Yeah.
anxious.
Yeah, it's true. It happened during the massage, vibrating.
Mhm.
Yeah. I could have been like, is this anxiety? Are we anxious about this massage? No, it feels good. My energy is attuning. I'm vibing up, so it feels good, and so I'm starting to vibrate a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, and this, I mean, we could really get a video there with Dark Night of the Soul. There's more, but like that's enough to really understand like what it is and how to really go into it and see yourself through it. Is it gonna feel less bad? No. Is it gonna hurt less? No. Are you gonna be any less confused? No, you're not. But here too,
that's not
the
I guess,
mentorship piece.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say there are moments. I went from like that deep, uncomfortable, wanting to die feeling to spending a lot of time. I want to make sure that we talk about this. I spend a lot of time in solitude.
Yeah.
A lot of time in solitude, a lot of time sitting on a meditation pillow, staring out the window, meditating, journaling, crying. I spend a lot of time crying. And people in your life who don't understand the dark night are not going to understand this journey. And you're going to hear a lot of shit and a lot of criticism. And then, so we will go into the mentorship piece, but I spend a lot of time on my meditation pillow. I spend a lot of time alone. I spend a lot of time crying. And I heard from people outside of me who did not understand what I was going through. You need to go to the doctor to make sure you're not depressed. You need to get on medicine. You need to get your thyroid checked. It was like there was something wrong with me. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm going through a massive transition and I'm feeling emotions.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with feeling emotions. And once I was able to fully release, like, I felt like I had 34, 35 years of built up emotion that I had not felt. I had not experienced. Even though I had moments of emotion, I hadn't purged my emotions in that way. And so once I finally purged, I felt so much lighter, and I felt that sense of calmness and peace that I had never experienced in my entire life. And it was through that I finally learned that now, in the moments where I have emotion or I freak out or whatever, I'm like, I know how to get through this because I've already been through this.
Okay, step 2. I'm keeping the list because otherwise
we only have one step.
Yeah. Step 1 is the willingness. Step 2 is know what works for you. Okay? Know what your happy triggers are. Amanda Francis talks about this. Happy triggers. What are the things that help you process? Journaling is also one of mine. When I'm writing things down, I get to witness my own thoughts and it's a different perspective. Meditation brings you into the silence. It puts you in contact with the higher expression of who you are, and it makes a direct channel for you to witness your thoughts and know that you are separate from them. That's why it's so valuable to have the practice. Who do you reach out to? Like, what works for you? What helps you get back in the vibe? What book can you read that's going to turn the knob? What song can you play that's going to bring you up? What candles can you light? What essential oils can you use? What exercise can you press play on? What can you do? Clean up your diet. That's another one. Okay?
Diet, exercise.
And let me say why. Because food affects your feelings. You guys might not understand that, but sugar, it messes with your blood sugar levels, makes you feel crazy, depressed. Alcohol has a similar effect because it messes with your blood sugars. If you're drinking at night and going to sleep, it's going to disrupt your sleep. It's going to keep you up. Bad sleep makes you feel more depressed. It's cyclical. Are you sleeping at night? That's another one of the things that what works for you. How many hours of sleep do you actually need? Are you getting what you need? Are you moving your body? What works for you? Everybody has things that helps them feel better. Everybody, that's not medicating.
Right.
You know?
Right.
We all have. We know that, man, when I work out, I feel so much better. When I meditate, I feel so much calmer. I don't yell at my kids. You know, when I use certain essential oils, my mind feels clear. You know, we all have things that we know work for us. So know them and write them down. So whenever you go into the crisis experience of your dark night, you can pull out the sheet and remind yourself what the hell works.
Because you will forget.
Yeah.
You'll forget. You'll go into in the moment. Yeah. You'll forget. You'll go into victim mentality, and you'll start to feel really helpless and hopeless.
Yes.
You know, and so having that list, that's absolutely something I did. When I was feeling high vibe, I pulled out my journal and I made a list of all the things that I enjoy. Cooking was one of them. Music was one of them. Being out in nature. Like, what connects me instantly.
Yes, that's so important. You've got to have the list. Make the list and store it someplace you know you can reach for it, because in the moment of the crisis, you're going to blank out. It's like when someone asks you a song lyric or something, you forget it. The same thing happens when you're in the crisis of the dark night, and you're going to forget. So make sure you have the list.
Yep.
Very important. That's step 2.
Is there step 3?
There is.
Oh.
You ready?
Yeah.
Step 3. Community.
Uh-huh.
Mentorship and community, because that's something we have in common. Because, okay, now we have businesses around this, right? We each have our own business where we help other people through the avenues that we help people, and we can talk to you more about that if you want to learn about what we do and how we do it. So now we have a business around this, which is awesome. But before that was a thing, we had each other, right? And so something Ann and I do a lot is reflect for each other. And we are really, I would say, well qualified, but we're good at that with each other because we've made that our business for one. And we've worked through our own shit enough that it's a really good reflection. So you might not have someone like that in your life. You might not have anybody who's actually worked enough through like whatever experiences they've had, that they can be a good reflection for you. So that's why reaching out to mentors and community is so, so important.
Let me say, do not reach out to someone whose life you wouldn't want.
Yes, don't do that, please. Or family members. Like, okay, here's my piece about family members. All of my cousins always hop on them on my videos, and I love you guys. I really do. I love my aunts and uncles. My family is gigantic and awesome. But unless they've lived through what I've experienced, I can't really reach out to them. You know, that's like not going to be a good reflection for me. And what ends up happening a lot of times is we do, and then we get shot down hard. And we feel so wounded by the people closest to us, and it's not their fault. They don't understand. They don't have a lens with which to offer you a reflection. And our parents want to rescue us. That's just the truth.
Oh, Lord, have they? Love you guys. I think they're both on right now. Love you.
Parents want to save you. They don't want to see you suffer. They don't want to see you go through something hard, and that's fucking normal. I don't want to see my son, even though I know what I know, when he's struggling to do something, I want to help him so bad. I swear to God. I watch him go down the stairs, and I'm like, hold your hands so you don't fall. You know, like, I have this feeling, but I also know he's got to figure out how to go down those stairs. I'm not going to be holding his hand when he's 55. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to learn, and if he takes a tumble, I'll pick him up, I'll brush him off, and I'll comfort him, and we'll keep going, you know? But taking tumbles is part of life.
Which is, again, how you work with ego.
It's how you work with ego. So if you want to reach out to your family, sometimes it's not the best place to go. Simply because they want to rescue you from your experience, you know? And it's normal for them to want that for you, but it's not where you need to go. It's not where you need to go. Yeah, that's my piece on parents.
Okay.
I mean, I love them too.
Yeah.
But the rescuing thing when you're in it is not the most helpful thing.
And sometimes it's hard for that transition for parents. Like, I know that I've talked to my dad about this specifically, my dad and stepmom, and because we talk once a week. We're on FaceTime, right? And so they saw a lot of my dark night. And I think that there were moments where they were so used to me talking to them about everything, because that's the relationship we've always had. I've always been extremely close. And so when I started to shift into, I don't really want to talk about it, or I'm not ready to talk about it at this moment, I think there was a little bit of like, but are you okay?
Right.
And it didn't mean, just because I was removing myself, or I stopped going to certain family functions for a while, because I needed that time for me, and learning how to set boundaries and honor yourself is incredibly important, and knowing that they're going to perceive it however they perceive it, and you are not responsible for how they perceive your journey.
Yes. Amen. That's kind of like part of part 2. Like, if you know that being around certain people brings you down, don't do that thing for a while, until you can hold a steady vibration, you know, until you can hold a steady vibration. This means don't ask them to change. First of all, everybody watching this with partners, I see you. I see you trying to make your husband or your wife be different than you are. It don't work. Okay? They are who they are. Don't ask them to be different. Don't ask your parents to be different. Don't ask them to be different. You learn to hold a steady vibration in your process. You learn to pull away if you need space and time. You learn how to master the emotions and your thoughts, how to go deeply into them and hold a steady place for yourself, so that when you come in contact with these people in your life, you can hold your vibration and you don't feel like you have to, you know, trip all over yourself trying to be around these people. And what ends up happening, miraculously so, is that they start to feed off of that. When they start experiencing your energy as really like balanced, centered, you know who you are, you're being very authentic, you know what you're here to do and like what your process is, they treat you differently. They always do, because they're vibing off of you, because this goes back to the law of assumption, the law of attraction. What you assume is what you'll experience. This is how it works. So by assuming, we mean energetically too. It's not just like in your brain you're thinking, you know, they're going to treat me like crap. But if you're all over the place energetically, when you're in contact with certain people and you're giving all your power away and you're apologizing all the time and you're all, you know, they're going to feel that and feed off of that and then treat you accordingly. And this is how we end up in patterns. This is how we end up with the same shitty partners and the same shitty jobs and the same, because we're feeding into an energy and it's giving us back the feedback that we don't want.
It's kind of like driving. It's kind of like learning how to drive, right? So when you first learn how to drive, you first start out in a parking lot, because there aren't a lot of people around. You're just by yourself. There's a lot of space, right? Hopefully you're not running into anything. So you start there, and then you go out to like side streets, like your neighborhood streets, where again, like you're starting to incorporate some people into your experience, but you're not going on the highway yet, right? And so it's like that, where it's like you start to, you know, venture out and then figure out where you're at and then come back home to yourself. And then you go out and you come back. It's this constant back and forth.
Yeah, that's so valuable.
Yeah.
And I think the community component and the mentorship component matches out really well, because what mentors do and what community does is, number one, it creates a safe space for you to be seen and heard. So if you don't have that in your life, or you struggle to have that in your life, it could be like in my fitness groups, it is life-changing when someone gets witnessed and seen and celebrated for their efforts in a way they've never been seen before. I see their entire life change, their confidence, their energy, everything. With coaching, it's the same thing. When you witness someone, when you have someone witness you with that level of like love and safety, it changes you from the inside out. It gives you the confidence to start looking at yourself that way, and to create safe space within yourself. That's the transference that happens in community. I think that's why it's so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's the premise of it. It's someone who's and it's nice to have someone who's already been there. It's really nice to have someone who like gets it. You know, like, yeah, I get that parenting is a mission.
Because they understand, because they know how to lead you. And so when I first started out, I've worked with multiple coaches, and what I wanted in a coach when I first started working with someone was, I wanted someone who knew how to get me from point A to point B. Because I was listening to the podcast, I was reading the books, I had an amazing, friend, obviously, but she wasn't my coach. She was my peer. And so I needed someone that could help guide me, because with all of this, it was like I had so much information and I wasn't actually applying, because I didn't have someone holding me accountable, and I didn't have someone reflecting back to me consistently what my patterns were. And when I had someone calling me on my shit consistently, I changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what you do for your clients. That's what I do for my clients.
Yep. And it's important. It's so important, I think. And I'm really grateful for every dark night. I really am.
Always.
I really feel like I've lived through probably, I would say, 5 to 6 major ones that were like soul crushing, like abusive relationship really young, a divorce, parenting, health crisis. There's been a lot of those. And every single time I've walked out of it with this intense knowing of who I am. This intense knowing, like, gosh, living through that, I know this about myself. Or I'm so sure about this. Or I have so much clarity about this. So every single one of those experiences has given me a grounding that today in my life, I just feel like I'm standing on all of those stones, and I look at them with like so much softness in me. I don't have any hardness around them anymore, which is so beautiful. It's such like, that's the point of like transformation. I feel like that's it. That's what transformation is.
Well, and I think too, and we talked about this when we first started talking about doing this episode, like we talked about, we're always given the opportunities to enter the dark night, but what happens is so often people run. So like Shakti talks about her story, and she talks about how she's gone through multiple things, she's gone through multiple dark nights. And as she's talking, I'm thinking about my own past, and I'm like, I've had a lot of the same experiences, but when I reflect, I don't think of those times as having gone through the dark night, and it's because I was given the opportunity and I chose not to. So I've been sexually assaulted. I've been in abusive relationships. I've been divorced. I'm like
health crisis.
Like I've been through all these things, but I ran because that was my pattern. My pattern was when I got uncomfortable, I threw a tantrum and I ran. And so it wasn't until this last time that it was me saying enough, and I chose to go in, and so it's been 1.5 years.
And to add to that, if you spent your whole life running and then you finally say yes to your dark night, it's gonna feel really intense, you guys, because it's like it's different when you're holding a very small ball underwater versus a giant beach ball underwater.
A yoga ball.
It feels, those Bosu balls or whatever. It feels totally different because the surface area tension is different. You feel me? Like on a very physical level. So don't compare your dark nights either, because that's the next thing. Like, well, she went through this in this amount of time, and he did that in this amount of... It's not like that, because you have no idea how that person's been living your life prior to now. See, my dark nights, I knew what the fuck was going on every single time. And I hurled myself into them because I'm stubborn and bullheaded. And I was like, I need to figure this out. I've also been like insatiably curious about that pain, which sounds Weird to say out loud, but it's true.
No, I get it.
I've always
I
been
get
like
it.
very curious, like what is this pain? That's always like really driven me. So I went straight through them, and it doesn't make me better, more enlightened, or whatever. It was my personality. It's my personality and my upbringing that created me, and then I chose to navigate these things the way I did. And you had your own personality and your own upbringing, and you chose to navigate the way you did. And it doesn't matter because you all different and you all have different lives. The point is that now, watching this video, being on here, do something about it. Take this video and apply it to
Go
your
back,
life.
write down the steps.
Yes.
Make your list.
Let's recap. Be willing to go into the dark night and into the feelings that hurt. Number 2, make a list of all the shit that helps you stay high vibe. All of it. The boundaries, the activities, the companionships, whatever. Make a list of the things that work for you. And number 3, get your ass some community. Get your ass some community and some mentorship so you don't feel like you're repeating the same thing over and over again, because that's what ends up happening. It's like you're on this treadmill that just doesn't go anywhere of suffering.
And then you stay stuck in victim mentality. You're like, why do I keep ending up here?
Yeah.
You're not doing anything. Yeah.
Those are the 3 steps. It's not a lot of steps. There's a lot of talking, but not a lot of steps.
An hour later, you have 3 steps to take away.
So what's our announcement?
So, okay, so yesterday, while we were having our video, I had a light bulb, Shakti had a light bulb, and then
we had a lot of comments.
lots of you all had light bulbs too.
At the same time.
And so it's been requested that we do either more live videos or do a podcast, but clearly do something together.
Yeah.
So as Shakti and I came together and decided to really reflect on this, we have decided that we are going to do a weekly show on YouTube Live.
Yes.
Starting March 12th. At 8 p.m. Central Time. So it's going to be every Monday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And
we're going to take topics, so you guys are welcome to message us individually, or we have an email, we're not disclosing it.
Yeah.
Message us individually and share with us things you'd like to hear us talk about or that you are wanting to explore, and we'll include those in the topics that we cover. But the show is basically designed to do what we're doing now. Obviously, we'll be in different physical locations, but I see a yay on the screen. We'll be in
ask and you shall receive.
Y'all are good at law of attraction, though. You listen to what we say. So we'll be doing that for you guys to kind of, and with a sense of humor, really, to help you get through this stuff that we know is hard and we know it sucks, but to do it with the joy of being alive and being in a human body. And
it's not so serious.
It is not so serious.
It is not so. It's not so serious, Susan.
Susan gets all the shit in this relationship. She gets the short end of the stick consistently. So that is our big announcement. We're really excited about it. We feel like this is going to be really good for us as well as for you guys, just to dive deeper into the exploration of these really hard human topics that, deserve the attention with a loving and laugh-filled eye.
We'll give you the online community openly.
Yes, it's true. It'll give you a resource for you guys to tap into. So be sure to send us whatever topics you'd like for us to talk about. Again, we're going to make more announcements. Make sure that you subscribe to when we go live as well, so you can get a heads up on Facebook. We both have like pages as well. Yours is
and Livingston Coaching.
And mine is Spirit Fit Shakti. So like the word Spirit, Fit, and Shakti, my name all together. And so go to our like pages, follow us there. We do a lot of live videos there as well. And send us messages and just let us know.
Yep. If you found this video helpful, share it out.
Yes.
Definitely share it out or tag people in the comments.
Please do.
And
thank you guys for hopping on and for being willing to go through your dark night and to do it with us. And I deeply wish you guys the courage and the eyes of beauty to be able to really see this as an invitation to get to know yourself on a deeper level, to really love yourself more deeply and fall in love with the process of getting to know who you are instead of being something that you wish wasn't happening. Yeah.
And like Shakti said, like find someone who's been through it. And if this is something that you are going through or you think you're about to go through, we work individually with our clients, specifically on the dark night. So both of us do this work.
For sure. So we love you guys. Please take care of yourselves and take care of each other. As always, we will catch you next time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.